So, all right, we're here again for part 2 of our series. It could be maybe 6 or 8 parts. I don't know. My name's Alfred Nutilli, and joining me is
Joe Bacall.
And again, we're gonna go through building a Laravel site. In this case, we're gonna do the infamous blog from zero to deploy, so you'll get a sense of how to, really get it going and all the way through and ongoing like updates and everything, so you can really have a nice, blog. So today we're going to start going into pagination, seeding, and search. And we'll eventually get into style. We'll keep it pretty basic for now and see how far we get with all this, and maybe even go further if we get far quickly. We're kind of playing it by ear to see how far we can get in the time. The last one, like an hour and 20, we'll probably keep it a little shorter this time. So basically, we had a good error. I was in a wrong folder because I'm so bad at cleaning up. Now we're in the right folder, and but Joe reminded me that I could do PHP Artisan Serve. I thought that was gone. At this point, we're going to be using a different URL, but we're ready to go. Now, if we go to, I think we called it blogs. Now we can go look at our route list, for example. PHP Artisan route. List, and we get a sense of all our routes, and they are post, so it's not blogs. So we see where we left off finally. Now one of the goals is to get pagination going and search. So we'll make this like a blog page, and we'll style it out really nice later on, right? But pagination can be difficult, and I think we're gonna see how easy it really is in Laravel. Okay. Now, if we go to the Laravel docs, which again I can't say enough about how good they are just to go there, there's a section on pagination, and honestly, all we need to do is make two things. We have to use paginate and eloquent, right? And we have to then output it. So let's go to our eloquent. Now, if you remember, when we go to post, we're calling to this controller at index, right? Mm-hmm. So if we go open that controller, oops, I gotta reopen PHP Storm. 1 moment.
So
I removed that folder as we were talking.
So when you ran the eloquent models come into existence when you run Artisan something, right? It builds the eloquent, like the shell
right.
of the eloquent model before.
Well,
or do you? I just can't remember.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Hold on, let's get into that folder, and then I can do one thing at a time. Pretty well, sometimes. So, when we ran the scaffold command, which is a crazy big command to do everything,
does it all?
It just made a file for us. So if you think about it, we made our database file our migration.
Yep.
Right. That made a table that's singular. Plural. But really, that automatically, by convention, relates to our model we also made, which is singular, post. And so by conventions, Eloquent says there's a table called post. Then if I have a model called post, I can use that to, access the features of Eloquent, which is the model class. And it's still indexing, so give it a moment. But at this point, we would get all the bonus of these particular methods and everything, right?
Yeah.
So that's all. It's just those conventions really give us a ton of extra features.
Gotcha.
Now, when the controller says, oh, you want to post index, like we talked about last time, it just is a query to that model we made, that class. And it's a query to the all, which is part of the eloquent model, which is all, and it just goes through the whole shebang of querying the database for us, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if the database is MySQL or Postgres or SQLite or I think there's maybe another one. It's just going to query it for us. But all we need to do is say paginate. And now the problem with paginate is that we don't have a lot to paginate. We're going to take care of that in a moment. But now when we go back here, we only get 2, you see? And I deleted one of them. So if we put that back to 10, just for example, you'll see ID2 is missing anyways, right?
Right.
But let's put it to 2 for a moment. But we're going to fix that. And now let's go see how easy it is to paginate. Now I'm going to scroll down here, and he just says, okay, when you're ready to paginate, put this into your template. And we're going to go to our template, which again is written right here. Post folder index, resources, views, post folder index. We're just going to throw that little thing down here, and I'm going to do this. But we're not rendering users, we're rendering post. So we're going to do a post render to render the pager. So now we have a pager, right? Let's give it a little bit something else here. All right, so, and it can go through the pagination, and it's really that easy. It's just updating our query string so that index will get it. Now, if you think about it, remember how we did that request thing here? So if I ask for help and ask the dependency injection to give me the request, and I found this later on that day. Remember how I was trying to show you how this request is something that the application starts ahead of time. So at the route moment, the moment your application is started and taking a request, it's already instantiated, so we're getting an already instantiated request. But that particular already instantiated request has our little page thing, and inside of this pagination class, it takes care of that. It looks for that and then uses it in its query, you see. So so it does it all for us, basically, right? But, most likely we're going to show, we'll say 10, for example, and now there is no page 2, because if I was to do 10, it's only the first page.
So did we have a route that relates to that already?
No, see, because we get it out of the, our initial route that we get out of the box is post, right? Now, when you do pagination, you're not asking for a new route. You're asking for a route with a query string.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see a question mark. Okay.
And so it's taking care of it there. Let's see. We'll put it at 10. So let's now do something really cool. It's called seeding, and this can help when you're trying to build a site to get a sense of how is my theme looking, or is this working as the owner expected. In this case, we're the owners, right? So I think I showed you earlier this model, and this is a way to tell Laravel your data and how you want it to automatically make stuff for you, and I'll explain that in a moment. But basically, we want to copy this factory and make one for our post class that I showed you a moment ago. And this is a PHP way of saying a namespace in making a class. It's nice because you can click through it versus what you might have see a lot, which is this. So it's the same as typing this, but you don't get that nice syntax that you can click through. And it's going to throw in Faker here, which is a great PHP library to fake content. And now we know our post has a title and a body and a user ID. So I can go here and I don't want it to be a name. I want it to be a body and, oops, seems like I didn't copy that, title. And at that point, we'll stick to user ID 1. It's pretty useless for now. A body could be Faker, sentence, right? And I always get this one wrong. I think string array sentences text as true, as text false. So we'll just do true. I think that will give us like 3 strings sentences. I think you could even do paragraph, actually. See all the things you can do with. It's pretty fun.
So fake did you pull that in with Composer? That's just already in Laravel.
Yeah, it's already in Laravel because they're using these models a lot. You'll see how we use this in seeding, and we can use it in testing quite easily. We'll show testing in a moment too. That'll be a great way for you to see how easy you could test your application if you want. And they all work together, all the logic. I don't know if paragraph is right. It might be paragraph as it is a property. We'll see what happens. It would just give us an error.
Right.
So, all right, let's see if this gives us what we want. Now, also in Laravel is a seed folder, and in there is your main database seeder, which it gets called every time you seed your database. Now, It gave us our scaffolding gave us a post seeder file. So if we were to just type in here post seeder, that file is empty, but it's using test dummy, which is an old way to do factories. I should update that, but we basically want to call that factory we just did, and we made a post factory. Okay, and we just want to create that, but we want to create 20 of them, right? So now, if we go back to here and we just say PHP artisan DB seed, we have 20 items in our database, more probably because we already had 5. So now we can paginate through all our data. You see how easy that was? So now every time, if you think about this, every time you push your application to dev or staging for QA, you could reseed the database, and that helps a lot. Now, the other place this helps out, which is really cool, is testing is really strong in Laravel, and you can easily make a test. So you can easily do PHP artisan make test post test, and then you could just say, you know, hey, I want to make sure my thing's working, right? So I want to make sure. So I'm going to use the PHP unit. This is PHP unit at test syntax, and I'm going to say should have index, right? And so basically, I can do something simple like this: visit. Actually, I like to do it this way. What are we visiting? Post, right?
Yeah, on my screen.
And
okay, there we go.
You all set?
Yep.
And I'm going to say this assert response okay, right? Now that's a start. This isn't what I'm going to end up with, but I'm going to now say vendor bin PHP unit filter.
That's just
and
saying
that's gonna,
like you'll get a 200 of some kind.
Yeah, so basically it's saying your post is working. Now I could do something like oh, I can't do it with that. So this is how you could also say they have this built in, and let's go look at docs just so I'm not rambling. You can use the built-in testing to say visit, see, don't see, right? So I could say visit post, right? And see, I think blog is just in the title, right? So we'll get no assertion. We got a fail, and it actually dumps out what it did see, you see? So I probably, because it's called post, right? But what's really cool is it actually showed me, by the way, not only did it fail, I'm going to show you what was there that I saw, you see? At some point I could be like, hey, I know you're telling me this is passing, but I want you to dump the results out here because I'm just curious, what are you really seeing? And so you can quickly test your web page, even to the point of like clicking things, right? So I could say, that I clicked number 2, and I can go through the pagination to make sure my pagination is working, you see? I could even create a post, right? So I could, oops.
You could create one there too.
Oops. Yeah. Jeez, hold on. I'm going to do a little clap so I remember to come back here. All right, that just spikes in my volume. All right, so, but basically, you can see how you can do a lot. Like I won't go into this right now, but you can see how you can really test your whole thing so you know things aren't breaking as you go, right? So we'll maybe come back to that later. It's definitely not the most exciting stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a whole world that I haven't really dipped into yet. Like, I can't imagine you'd be testing. Well, I just don't know what I'd be testing yet.
Yeah,
But that's coming up.
We'll add it as a subject, but you're right. Like, if you're building this for yourself, you might just be cranking away and not worry about it. But if you're building it at work and you're 20 features in, you want to know you didn't break.
No, yeah, exactly. But I'm wondering, like, what are the typical things that one tests? Like,
right.
Do you test? I imagine it'd be the more programmatic stuff, like when things are actually passing data around.
It depends. I mean, honestly, there's no reason not to test UI stuff
Right.
and not to test expectations at that level,
Right.
because then you know all the pieces are working
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
or not.
Cool.
But it's harder to troubleshoot if a piece does break, but at least you caught it and you didn't deploy something where now the delete button's missing or the edit button. Yeah, so it's a good balance. So we got pagination pretty easily. Now let's add some search here, okay? And again, when we theme this out, that means our blog will have search. Now with search, we can basically, and I will have to ramble a little bit through here or whatever, because I don't do this a ton. I usually use Angular. I don't want to use Angular for this though. So we're going to go to our index, which we've been working on this whole time, and we're going to put a little form in here, right? Mm-hmm. And that form is going to allow us to do an action, to basically say they want to search for something. I'm going to go send this somewhere, mm-hmm. right? And I think we're going to do it let's see. So I think we need to route it to post index. And so we're going to send it right back to where we are now, but with a particular query string in there. I think I've shown you this before, even down here, how we get this nice route shortcut, and you know, we have our names that we gave the routes, which was really nice. It's a really nice way to give your routes names. And so we have this post index name, and so I'm coming back to where we are, and I'm going to default to the get method. I think forms will default there automatically. I could be wrong. But you know, we'll put that method there just in case. And then I'm gonna just give it the typical, some typical Bootstrap input form. And the thing with a form is you need to have a name, and that's what gets passed to the through the request. So we can say placeholder search, and basically that's it. We can make a little button, btn.btn success, and search, right? So I think this will be enough to get us going, other than the horrible style. So we can search for foo, and if we inspect this for a moment, just before we go clicking around, we can see we made our form, we made our direction, we made our method, and you know, just the basics. So I think we should be able to click this. It will search for foo, and it puts it up here, but we haven't really dealt with foo. You know what I mean? So now if we go with search, if we go back to our index, to our controller on the index, we can now deal with foo. And now the question is, like, if request input search, we want to do something, right? Now,
so why is it attached to request? Oh, because we're past it to the URL. It's now part of the URL string.
Yeah, and what's really nice, and really get this, because this is really cool, is
it's just like PHP, submitting a form. It's just like a form. Yeah, I get it.
But the thing is to keep in mind is that, and I forget there's 4 of them, but PHP stores values inside a get, inside a post. What a request does is it centralizes all this into one place. So you don't have to guess where was it. Was it in get?
Right.
Was it in post? Was it in
just,
you know,
at any of them that you happen to use? If you'd used post,
it would still be in the request input.
Yeah.
You see, because it's going to centralize all those common places into those central areas that you can then get to.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and so we can now do something, but I'm going to do it this way. We're not going to stick to this idea, and you'll see why right after. But we can say, like, let me put that back. We can say like post equals post, where title like
get blah. Fine.
yeah. Well, I already passed it in,
Yeah.
right? So I can now kind of do that nice bracket so people can get a little bit more, and then I can pass that to paginate. And I think that will give us enough. I forget if I have to do a get, but you see how it's just, I'm saying where, title. So now when we say ASFAS, we don't get any results. So let's go see why. You think it would give us results.
Yeah.
So,
maybe it's...
well, I might, let's find out. So
Did you mean to have an S after the % sign there?
Oh, no, I didn't. Thank you. I think that's a Drupal habit. They did that to me. So I must have now messed up here. I left my thing here. There you go. Thank you. So we see that we were able to do that. We can even go further, and it's kind of a nice touch. But we can go back to our index and say value if well, no, what we'll do, if we'll say if search else just empty, right?
Right.
And I don't think I syntaxed it right, so let me fix that. So one of the things here is I do want to be careful. Yeah, okay, I think this is legit. Else. Yeah, right, I think I'm getting, okay, if search echo. And I can get rid of the curlies because I'm inside of an if statement. Alright, so I think that should do it now. I think this is, I'm just going to go with this and use the, I could use PHP to echo it, but this way at least I know I'm a little safer too. Not that anyone would do anything to themselves, but it's just a good habit.
Yep.
So now I'm going to go back to my post controller and just make sure to, search equals false, for example, or empty at all times. And then I'll make sure to pass search into the template. So every time I come here, I'll always have search, but it won't be there if it wasn't passed. So let's go fix my little error here. I'm treating it like straight PHP. And if we remove this, for example, I think it should now go away. So you see how it doesn't fill it in.
Yep.
Okay, so so that is us passing a search to the title, but it's going to get really ugly soon if we also, well, let me take that back. It's really easy because we're searching, and we can search title and body, but many projects will be more than 2 fields, or you'll have unique searches, like I want to search the title checkbox and I want to search the body, like you might have multiple things. And so there could be some shortcomings to this pattern, but maybe we just won't think about it right now.
So the search in this case is like that post where it's just like it's a SQL select statement wrapped up in
and niceness.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's just basically doing all what you just said. It's abstracting it out with, like PHP can do it, PDO, and saying I don't care what database type you're using, but I'm going to now make a query with what we would say select, all from post where title,
exactly.
And then paginate it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and now we can also do let's do a little copy paste here, and I think this is the right syntax, or where we can look it up if it's not. Body. So then we should be able to say, let's see if we have a body here, this guy. I should be able to search for this and get one result. or more because it's such a common lorem ipsum. You see?
Yep.
This one, I don't see it, but maybe it's actually in the view itself. Yeah, there it is. It's just lowercase. All right, so so that was really how easy it was to do search.
That was fast.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of fast, it's fast. I mean, these views are rendering pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get worse. Like I can't. It stays really fast. I'm always impressed. We do a lot of single page applications, but we're starting not to because Blade is fast enough. So instead of relying on Angular to make everything loaded and fast, we get away with just using Blade now. So all right, so that gives us pagination and seeding and search. So at this point, do you want to do like authentication?
Well, let's pause for a second.
Okay.
And I'm going to catch up with something.
Okay.
Let me stop my thing. Is this going to mess you up to have a stop?
What do you stop in your audio?
Yeah.
Oh, just keep it going.
Right,
It'll be easier to cut. Yeah.
Right. Then you don't have to sync it up again.
Yeah.
All right. So if we go back to oh, that was weird. I clicked.
Yeah, you can manage my screen. Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's great. That's perfect.
That's crazy. All right, that makes it easier. Can I type shit too?
Yeah, you have perfect control of my computer. Like decent speeds too if our internet's doing good.
Is crazy.
That's why it's great for pair coding.
Yeah.
Screen Hero.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a little bit it can be perfect most of the time, but it can also sometimes, bug out, but it's very rare.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive though. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where were we? Let's see. Where's the now that I know I can go around here.
You can even do a command tab like you normally do. It will tab my computer.
Right. Now I'm just trying to remember what I was looking for.
Shiny.
So, all right, basically in the zoomed out version of this, the module, I don't know what I want to call it, the module, the library, the thing that we pulled down that was
the scaffolding?
Yeah, the scaffold.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that ran. We didn't run something to create each of these guys. That all came out of the scaffold.
Yeah.
But what that scaffold was like run a, PHP artisan make posts or something like that.
Well, even more simple. I mean, let's do what's the most fun thing to do is explore, right? So that library is right here, and all it does. So here's his command, right?
Yeah.
So here's your.
Okay, good.
This is an artisan command, really simple stuff. Make scaffold.
Yeah.
And when people run this, it's going to start up in Fire.
Yep.
And it's going to do things like get your object name, get your schema. And then it's going to make the migration file.
Yeah.
So it made that migration file we saw.
Yep. And these are Laravel things already? Or he wrote these?
They're all Laravel things. He just wrote wrappers around them to instruct them to follow through with all the details, right?
Yep.
Like Laravel won't make you all this information. Laravel would basically leave you typically with that, right?
Yeah.
But then he says, okay, let me grab your schema and fill it in. The same with the controller. It will usually just have all of the methods.
Yeah.
But it won't have all of this good stuff in here.
So in a way, where's this guy right here? This is kind of like a nice outline of what you would do if you were starting from scratch.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good way to look at it. And you're right. It's an outline to be like, I need to make my migration. I need to make my controllers, my views, my models.
Yeah,
right?
Because that's not in my immediate brain yet, but
no, it's a really good idea.
Yeah,
this is a great way to instruct you on how to go from point one, which is I want to make a resource, and point N, which is like it's there and it's usable. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah,
No,
that was
really
my
good
big
point.
question.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
I can't believe I can mess with your screen. It's
So okay, we can we can add authentication. We can add authentication, or we can do that pretty quickly, and then we can come back and next time we could throw in a theme.
Yeah, sure.
And
that's
you know, according to the roadmap, we're looking at authentication, adding that relationship kind of thing to a user, and a theme, so we start getting some better looking stuff going on.
Great.
Another common thing will be a slug, where you have those clean URLs. We'll deal with that, and we'll deal with. I'll add testing to here as well because that's a good one. So authentication is pretty much all the way thought out for you. Copy paste. You go to the authentication docs, and you just scroll down, and and you just go through it step by step. Now, so we have in our HTTP area of our application, we have this whole auth stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So he already gave us all the code we need to do authentication. We have their user model, and it's authenticatable. It's a trait to make it have the extra methods we need to like authenticate someone. So we're pretty much set to go, but just as easily we could remove all this if our application didn't need it, right?
Right.
So if we go down the list, oh, sorry, I'm in authorization. That's a new thing. We don't really need that ever, but it's a cool thing. So we go to authentication, and he's like, okay, dump these in your route. So let's go throw this in our route for a moment. And they're gonna basically give us the core to our authentication, which is like an auth login page, an auth login post because you're submitting the form, auth logout, and then we have our registration pages. Now you and I are going to be making a blog, so we won't do this, right? We don't want people registering in our blog, so we'll leave that out. But it's really that simple. Now no one could ever register on our blog, right? And with that said, you just go down the views, right? So he's like, okay, we need a form for people to sign up. So inside of resources, views, auth, make sure you have a login form. Now, we have resources, views, and we don't have auth yet, so let's go make that folder. And we're going to call it this to stick with the existing stuff we get out of the box. And we're just going to copy paste this in there, but if we do it this way, we're going to lose all of our non-existent theming. But we're going to theme things out later, but let's at least not lose it completely. Well, let's enjoy some of it, right? So we're going to do exactly what we did before. We're going to wrap the inside of our page to the outside of the page. Yep. So just like before, we're going to say, hey, layout, when you render layout, here's my content, which is what we just made. You're wrapping around that. So we have our content, we have our messages for bad logins. So really that easy. So now when we go to auth login, we get a very ugly form because it had no style in it. So we could say class form control. Very simple things that will get wicked. We'll get way better once we get. We'll go get a theme.
I don't remember us pulling in Bootstrap. Was that?
It's just part of the scaffolding. It made this layout file, which pulls Bootstrap. Oh, okay. These two files and this one. It's really minimal stuff.
That was it. Oh yeah, now I remember.
Yeah. So now we have a little bit better looking form, but again, you could go crazy. We're gonna go here later on and just grab a theme. Find a nice one and show how easy it is to really bang it into place. So we have our form, and we're going to click it, and these credentials are wrong because guess what? They are, right? So how do we turned off registration, right? So now we need to seed our user. Right. Now, you just want a blog, and we do this a lot for our applications. We don't want registration. We want we just want an admin user, and we usually have other ways of authentication, single sign-on, right? But anyways, in your case, you're trying to log in as the admin, you, the blogger, the owner. So we're going to do something here. We're going to set, remember our .env file? We're going to say admin user, and I'm going to say equals my email just for the heck of it. So let me turn on my tool that got shut off, and we'll say AG, and then we're going to say admin password, okay? And we're going to do a decent password. We'll snag that and reduce it a little. So basically at this point we have a username and a password. Now in our seeding under database, we had that reference in here to the user table seeder, but no one ever made that, okay? And that's just another seeding file we want to make to help organize all our seed code. We could put it in the same file as this one or post, but we don't want to. So I'm going to tell Artisan to make me a seeder called that, okay? And then I'm going to have this be part of my application. And so in here is the seeder. So when we run seeder, it's going to run this. And if you remember our factories, we have a user. I think we removed the name from our database because I never used that one. So if we look at user, we remove the name, you see. So I'm going to just get it out of here. And the next time I run factory make,
it's only gonna...
I can, yeah, but here's the cool part to this. When I seed factory app user class, I want to create it, but I want some control here, and this is where create comes in. I can pass to it an email, and I can pass to it a password, and instead of using fakers, it's going to use what I pass. You see? Pretty cool. You can,
everyone can have the same email.
Well, it will never have the same email because faker's going to take over, right? Is that what you said? What did you say about email?
So this factory is this email token, that key comes out of the factory method or object.
Well, okay, so let's come back here for a moment. When you say like when we made that seeder for post, we said, hey, go make us a bunch of posts, right? But we didn't tell create anything. We just said create, just go create, okay? Now create, if it's empty, see how it can take attributes or take none, right?
Yep.
If it's empty, it's just gonna go grab your factory for post and just populate it with faker, you see?
Right.
But if it's not empty, if you passed in body, it would set whatever you passed in for it.
I see.
So we're going to take advantage of these two guys. We're going to grab them.
Oh, nice.
My clipboard's a little off. And we're going to say, hey, I made some environment variables. One's admin, one's this. So, just like I showed you before, it's like doing this.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But to be cleaner and consistent, we're using env. It even has a nice default we could do, for example. But we're going to pass in our admin and username, and password. And now when we seed our database, so I'm going to do PHP artisan db seed. Now that user exists, you see? Now, I'll log in, but you're going to get an error, but let's go do it anyways, okay? So let me log in. Let me grab that username and password we made. So here's the username. Actually, I'll do the password first, then the username. So let's go back to that form. I'm going to log in, and then I'm going to do that, right? And when I log in, oh, look at the credentials didn't match our records, and this is why. It's a password. And it has to be encrypted, okay? Because then it gets unencrypted. It's bcrypt and it's because I didn't encrypt it on my end. Sorry. So I have to then take a moment to say bcrypt. So now here's the funny part. If I run seed again, we're going to get an error. All right. Because I just added 2 users with the same email, and I can't do that, right? So there's this command called refresh, and I say refresh all my migrations in my seed, so I can quickly reset the state of my data, you see? So it not only rolled back all my migrations, let me zoom in a little. Not only did it roll back my migrations, but it reseeds my database. So it's pretty nice. So now when we log in, that should work. So now we're here, everything's okay, except it redirected me to home, and that's the error I was telling you I was going to get. We really wanted to go to post. So let's go fix that. We'll show off a few things about authentication, and then we'll call it a wrap. It should get you should get a good sense of how we're now officially authenticated. Yeah. Now, out of good habit, I want to, because I don't pass my env file around, I'm going to throw this in here, but I'm going to remove, the real stuff, right? So you'll remember, hey, when I pull this in, I got to do those. Now, so a few things. We want to have more control over where things go after authentication. And if we look into the Auth Controller, which they gave us, so this came with the application, he will use a trait to register and authenticate. And if you authenticate, it will redirect. And it redirects you to a property. If property exists, go there. This one, again, property exists, redirects to. Now it's interesting. Why does he do redirect path and redirect to? I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna first try this one, and then we'll come back to the other one. And it's pretty simple. We go back to our controller that we have control over. No pun. Because now think about it. When you're working on an application, these are your files, right? These are the things that you have total control over. Now these you don't want to edit, because you can update them at any time, right? So I have the ability now to say, okay, I do have a property. I think it should be protected. I'm not sure. Equals just here. We don't have anything special. We'll actually go to post just for the heck of it, okay? So the next time I log in, I think it's going to find that. So I'm going to go to my auth logout, and it redirects me because I'm done. I'll go to auth login, and it won't save my thing because my LastPass has totally become hosed. And we're going to do that all over again. And now it sent us to post, you see? So we can really start to tweak out and manage it. Tweak out, that's a bad thing. We can really start to tweak and manage these things. Now, when it comes down to even simple things like, I don't want to have to keep typing that in the URL, so I can easily say views, layout. We have our little links here. I could say, log out. And that would be auth log out. And then auth log in. Now because we're logged in, we have this really cool thing. So basically, if we do an if not auth, remember I showed you facades? So we can say if this person is a guest, we want to offer them the login feature. And then we want to say the opposite up here. And so now it will be, the way we need it to be, And of course, we don't have much to go here, but
if the other view had rendered the same.
So now we can go log in. Now, So that gets us some flow there, but the irony is it's still not doing anything because I'm not logged in, and I can go to post and I could delete and stuff, right? I could edit it, right? So to protect us there, all we need to do is say in that particular controller, so our post controller, all we need to do is add our constructor. And our constructor, if we just say this middleware auth, we now will block this page from anyone getting to it, right?
And that says don't do anything else if auth is not true.
Yeah, if basically, and we can find out here, it's middleware. So middleware is a very common thing in many frameworks, and this is the Authenticate middleware. And if the person is not auth, we're going to redirect them back to auth login, right? And otherwise, we're just going to go to the next request, which means they pass. Let's keep going, right? Now, the hard part here is like then they can't get to our blog post, right? So I want them to go see post 3 or index because hey,
it's a blog.
So yeah, all we need to do is add something here, and I'm gonna go look at the docs because it's easy for me to forget this one. So let's go look at I don't know if it will be under middleware or here we go. So what I'm trying to find is, I should fill you in, is we want to basically be able to say only, and this isn't the right syntax, but it's close, only, edit, delete, and create.
And
right?
those are for HTTP?
Those are even more simple for these methods.
Oh, right.
So whenever our routes call to a method, the controller's taking over and say, hey, you're trying to get to the edit method? Yeah. Well, they have to be logged in.
Oh, so that's cool.
So, yeah.
Because the method's the one that calls the views anyway. Yeah.
So the route, it can't get, you can put this stuff in the route as well, but either way, it can't go, they can't get past it. And because it's middleware, it's a pretty interesting technology or design pattern. It's actually just became part of, I think, PHP with the PSR7, where it's a standard now between applications that, Drupal or WordPress, once they get it, could use the same middleware we're using. Yeah, it's pretty neat. But I'm going to find in the docs, oh, here it is. I think. I just want this one command. Actually, I'm going to look in controllers. There we go. Okay. And if it's not here, we'll find it. Okay. So here's what I was looking for. So it's like, here, throw in your middleware, right? Mm-hmm. But we only want to the particular array, and so I have to move my only inside of here. So I would have to say only. And then I would have to list off my onlys. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like my syntax better, but that's a rare moment. So if now we're okay with index, we definitely don't want them going to create. We don't want them hitting store, and we don't want them hitting edit, and we don't want them hitting update. And oh, my bad, I got this backwards. No, it's right, auth only. Now look at how many I'm listing, right?
Those who are auth only get these.
Yeah, but that's like I'm already listing about another one. Yeah. It might be easier for me to just do the inverse. Yeah. And
auth
show.
Except, index.
Yeah, index and show. We're okay with those two. So now, as a non-logged in person, I want them to have access to post, and I want them to have access to that. But the moment they try to do, it won't work. But the moment it would have been more. The moment they try to do that, they're going to get rejected, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's really that simple to. What's really cool too. This is a nice little feature, just so you can see the touches. If someone goes to let's see, post to edit, you're coming in, you're going to work. You just got redirected here, right? Mm-hmm. But what's really a nice touch is, let me go get the stuff out of the env file again. What's really nice is you can now, take a moment to enter your username and password, and then it's going to redirect you back to where you were. It's saved that inside of the
like session.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's just a nice little touch. So that is authentication. I think sometimes it cracks me up how easy this stuff is.
It's just all there.
Especially like WordPress or Drupal, they come with all this out of the gate. But I've dealt with a lot of situations where it wasn't just right.
Yeah.
And I had to alter it or style it, and then it took longer than if I just did this, where I had full control.
Yep.
All right, so that should cover tonight. I mean, what you have any thoughts so far?
No.
Any more questions? Okay.